well, the channel partner needs to be driving their own leads. They're a sales organization. That's their responsibility. And then we hear the flip side of, why don't they send leads? What are you doing to make us successful? How are you setting us up for success? Why should we prioritize you? You should both own it. So for instance, I would like to suggest that it's self-evident that the channel partner needs to be doing lead generation to fill the pipeline because they are a sales organization. Fine. On the other side of the table, if you're not doing direct lead generation, you're missing out on opportunities for goodwill or other incentives where you can increase the volume of leads that you're distributing to your partners. The other thing, though, is this is your opportunity to communicate directly with the market. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia Coffey.
And I'm Daisy McCarty.
Now, what we do on this show is try to carve through the loads of nonsense out there about B2B marketing and give you straight answers to solve your most frustrating growth challenges. And I'm excited about today's topic because we are going to be talking about how to successfully run a channel partner marketing strategy. So specifically, this is super exciting for us. So let's name. Obviously, we're going to be talking about software channel marketing because this is a really common business model. And then we'll also be talking on the industrial and manufacturing side because that's two of the big common places. But what's also so fun is we have clients on every side of this. So we have the people that produce or design the software or the products, manufacture them. We also have the resellers. So we actually support the channel partners themselves. And so this is fun to actually be like, okay, let's talk about the whole system and what's good for everybody and how do you actually make everybody successful? Because it's supposed to be a win-win proposition, but we don't always see that, do we?
Usually we see channel partners who are saying, why aren't you helping us sell more of your stuff? And we see producers saying, why aren't channel partners solving all my sales problems for me?
Yes, and it's funny because they both want the same thing.
Yes.
But there is so much finger pointing and trying to hold the other one accountable instead of just cleaning up your side and really believing in that partnership. Now, I know you and I are both total data nerds, like we're always. So I was pulling up some statistics in preparation for this, and I did not realize this. This is so important because if we're talking on the software side of things, partner delivered IT technologies and services. So the partner side is 70% of the addressable market. The channel partners actually on the technology side own 70% of those relationships in that addressable market. And the addressable market globally is $3.4 trillion. That's what size it was in 2023. I mean, that is mind-blowing. And I couldn't find statistics on the manufacturing and industrial side, but we know just from experience in the industries, by and large, most don't sell direct. They sell through distribution partners or channel partners. So people need to get this right.
They need to care about marketing to their channel partners and about helping their channel partners market as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other statistic that I pulled that is so important. Okay, guys, just be honest if this is you. Like what we found in digging is almost 20%. 1 out of every 5 report that their channel partner strategies are not very effective. That's terrible. That's terrible. I would argue it's probably higher than that. And most, 65%, rated their ability in their channel partner marketing as somewhat effective. I don't know about you, but I love excellence, and somewhat effective is not acceptable when this is your primary revenue driver for many, many companies.
My favorite statistic about B2B channel partner marketing is that 23% of suppliers or manufacturers don't know whether or not channel partners are meeting or exceeding expectations. This tells me 2 things. Number one, a lot of companies out there are not actually setting clear expectations for their channel partners. They haven't had the conversation around what's reasonable, what's achievable, how they can excel. And the second one is there are probably a lot of companies out there that don't actually have visibility into tracking how their channel partners are performing. And that may be due to just they're out there signing up whoever they can as a channel partner and they don't have systems in place, or they may just not have good software or good dashboards where everyone agrees on what the metrics are. Both of those are solvable problems and they're important problems to solve.
Yeah, and I won't chase this squirrel. We talk about it frequently, but this really points to taking some strong assumptions and benchmarking. Where is your revenue? If you're on the producer side, where is your revenue going to come from? So if you have 10 channel partners, what are your assumptions about the breakdown? If there is any part of your business that is direct to the market, what percentage is that supposed to be? Because your marketing should be appropriate to those breakdowns and really identifying where's it going to come from and how do you know successfully what that looks like. Now, separate from that, trying to speak to both sides of the table, I think one of the interesting things about this is that despite the fact that everybody's got the same goals, everybody thinks this is just going to be so easy. I think this is one of the big misassumptions that we hear is that on the producer side, they're saying, oh, well, if we just activate a channel partner, so get a contract signed that they're going to resell our offering, boom, sales are going to show up. And then we also hear on the partner side themselves where they say, oh, we just need that big name product. We just need to add something else to our portfolio. We just need to add one more thing. And because of their name brand or because of whatever they think that platform offers, boom, sales are just going to show up. And so there's just such misalignment around how much it takes, because what we've seen and what the research says is that typically it's about a year before a channel partner gets to fully productive. And we already know fully productive, based on the statistics, is not really well defined. And it's not really fully productive, but it is the standard that you can expect, even if it's a pathetic one.
Some sales, something,
one more than you had last year, anything more than you had last year. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the other thing is this is supposed to be a long-term strategy. And there are things that you can do to activate revenue on both sides right now, but people need to think systematically about this, that this is the go the distance strategy where no matter which side you're on, you're trying to make that partner successful so that you can be successful as well. So it's very reciprocal, where it's supposed to be.
It should be. It should always be a win-win.
Yes.
So are we going to talk about best practices?
Let's go. Yes,
All right,
definitely.
Fantastic. So it's probably no surprise. The very first thing we're looking at with successful channel partner marketing is knowing the persona of your channel partners. So if you haven't defined that, I talk with startups all the time. They've never defined their investor persona. They're like, anybody who give me money. Same thing with this. Channel partners, anybody who'll sell my stuff. No, you have ideal channel partner profile, and that's the thing that you need to be targeting as the persona that you're deep diving, that you're really understanding, because otherwise you're not going to be the best partner for your distributors.
I love this part because we have seen people surprised when one of their core personas is a sales rep in one of their key channel partner organizations and not the end user of their product. So one of the big ones I remember is we were working with a manufacturer in oil and gas. They were in pipeline. And one of the sales reps, a specific sales rep persona for a channel partner came up. And it was interesting because this product had a perception of commoditization and the pricing was now commoditized. And they kept wanting to talk about they're better at quality, they're better at efficiency, they're better at this. But the channel partner did not care because they were going to sell an amount of that no matter what, like based on the demand in the market.
Right.
And so why them? Why prioritize them? And it was just such an exciting shift to finally get them thinking about the business goals of their channel partners and what can they offer as value adds to really accelerate the success. And it was everything from we could give them better dashboards, we could wrap communication strategies around their rebates and their incentive programs. I mean, there were so many training components and even values alignment where they, as the producer, were much more value aligned with their key channel partners than their competitors were. And they were just leaving all of that on the table because they'd never thought, wow, we can actually teach them how to be even better businesses. They just kept talking about their commodity.
Right. I was in a channel partner discussion on behalf of one of my clients recently. And one of the things that I think businesses need to really pay attention to is when they're vetting a channel partner, asking the channel partner, what is it that you're seeing in the market that makes it even relevant to have this conversation?
Oh, I love that.
So if they come back with, well, our salespeople keep getting these requests and we don't have something to give our clients for that, that's gold. That's the signal that you want to hear. If they're just like, oh, we're looking at different ways to expand our portfolio, that's pretty vague.
Yes.
If they're not looking to fulfill a specific market need, then you're just going to end up being another piece of their portfolio. And maybe they'll sell some of it, maybe they won't. So looking for what makes it an urgent need for you to become their supplier or their provider.
I love that, because that's the one thing that you have to remember as the producer or as the company trying to leverage channel partnerships is you're competing with everything else they are trying to sell. And so if it's not easy for them, or if there's not a clear what's in it for me regarding their business, regarding their positioning, regarding the need that is in the market that they need to be able to fulfill, it's going to be very difficult for you to be a top priority for that entire organization of salespeople and to actually hit your number. And, we see this a lot because Pareto's principle is in effect. I mean, typically 80% of the goal or of the success of a channel partner initiative is coming from 20% of the channel partners. And so that's really important to think about. And one thing that you said in regards to the personas that I realized I kind of wanted to delineate really quickly is there's two approaches. So if you don't have a lot of channel partners and you're now trying to get into this game, what Daisy is talking about what's the profile, what's their need, what is their driver behind why they would want to represent your product or your offering is absolutely key. The other one, though, is when you have a lot of channel partners and you believe there's more squeeze that you can get out of the lemon. So then you've got to look at how do we activate these, what's actually happening in their mindset. And so then the persona might be the individual sales reps or some other key influencer inside of that organization, maybe even one of their marketers, depending on what kind of programs they're running. So that's an example of the personas, and it just depends on where you are in your channel partner journey.
It is. And I think it's always important to remember that you're not working with an organization that's a machine.
No.
It's individual people. You've got the people at the top who are deciding who they're going to bring in as providers. They may be pushing that down onto the salespeople, and the salespeople may not like that. So understanding what the dynamics are and making sure that you have the people who have boots on the ground on your side is incredibly important. So how are they being incentivized? Yeah. I ask channel partners, what does your incentive program look like for your sales team? What are you rewarding for them? Because we want to be part of the thing that they're being rewarded for selling.
Yeah.
And if we're not, we need to know that, because we're going to be pushing up against, that silent, apathetic pushback that you can't usually get in there and see until it's too late. And you realize, oh, the salespeople don't care about selling this. They don't want to sell it. Maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they haven't been given the tools. And that takes us to our next topic, which is how do you make it easy to sell the thing that you want them to sell?
I think that's critical. I mean, human psychology is always, we take the path of least resistance, and you see it in sales teams. And it's not because sales people are broken or there's something wrong with them. They have a number to hit, and they're going to go after the low-lying fruit like any smart business person would. And so you're right. If anytime there is complexity or confusion, why would you bother moving the precious time that you have to learning and studying versus actually getting into selling activity? Because I think what we see is the curse of knowledge. So what I mean by that is you know your product so well that you know why you built it, you know what position it's supposed to hold in the market, you know what the needs are, but your channel partners don't. And guess what? Just because you launch or you send sales collateral or you do the one-time, welcome to the team does not mean they get it. And typically sales training is a consistent process with consistent communication that you layer to help them get more and more comfortable. What do they say on a first meeting versus what do they say in a full presentation? What do they say in emails versus a different point where they're answering questions about your product versus someone else. So making it easy for them and making that training easy for them is huge, huge.
It is. And before I dive into my list of campaign in a box for your channel partners, which we're definitely going to get to, that's going to be its own snippet. You know that. We wanted to touch, I think, on positioning. And I think this is such a great topic because your brand positioning within the larger market is only part of the picture. If you're talking to channel partners, your position that you hold within their ecosystem of brands that they sell and represent, that's also something that comes into play. So you need to understand how they view your brand versus all of the other things they sell and versus the other things they could sell instead of the thing that you're offering to them. And you have to start with what your current position is in their mind, because positioning is all up here. It's not something you can just look, around you and say, well, we want to be this brand. We want to be that brand. You have to find the hole in their mind where you can provide the maximum value, and you need to inhabit that space.
At the Marketing Blender, we have fractional CMOs and outsourced marketing teams to drive your success. The two most common problems that we are approached about is how do we break revenue plateaus and accelerate success, or how do we attribute marketing to revenue impact? And the answer is that we build a system, because your marketing should be driving revenue, it should be driving your reputation, and it should be driving resilience. If you want to learn more, check out themarketingblender.com. A story pops to mind for me. One of our clients was in learning and development technology as a reseller. And so they had a ton of different options, and it was their entry strategy, but they didn't actually care what they sold because the vast majority of their revenue came from the consulting, the implementation, the customization, and the long-term relationship that they had. And so I love how you're talking about this positioning component, because the language inside that company and listening to them, how they perceived position was very, very different from what those actual software producers or software companies were saying in their marketing materials. And so there was some major dissonance. And literally, if you own the relationship, you do own the positioning. Like, what you say is what your prospective clients are going to believe oftentimes, and it might be totally different than what your brand strategy says it is.
Yes, the people who are selling your product, they're the ones who are influencing that perspective in the market. So yeah, arm them with your brand messaging as best you can, but understand that they have that ultimate control because they do own that client relationship. So I'd like to share my campaign in a box list with you. And when I say campaign in a box, I'm talking about what should you put together that you can hand to a potential distributor or channel partner and say, look, we've done 90% of the work for you. So all you have to do is take the ball and run with it. So some of the items from a marketing perspective that I usually like to build for a campaign in a box is, obviously, I actually want to give the sales team a documented persona. And it's usually a much deeper dive than they've ever seen before on any of the personas that they sell to. But it gives them a very clear idea of not only the stuff they already know, like, oh, this is the role, this is the title, but what are the psychographics of that person? And who's influencing them? What do they already believe? And then once they have that persona, make sure they also have a messaging choreography. So what do they say when? If this is a new prospect that they don't have a current engagement with, how would they start that conversation versus are they selling to an existing account that they already have? Because those are two different conversations. So how do they make that first contact all the way through the end? Now, you might think salespeople would give pushback on this and say, I already know how to do my job. 90% of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, you just made it where I don't have to figure any of this out. And they can always adjust it for their personal style or their existing relationships, but they're going to look at that and say, I have, the cheat codes to actually having better conversations. Speaking of which, I also give them a cheat sheet, and this is where they get the answers to frequently asked questions and to objections. So they know exactly where to activate this. Once the prospect starts giving them, inquiry and skepticism or pushback or any of the what ifs, they have that in their back pocket. From the marketing side, they want to have an email campaign that their marketing team can run. I want to give the sales team individual one-on-one outreach scripts for email and for LinkedIn. If they're willing to do video messaging, I'll write a script for video messaging for them as well. I want to make sure that they have some kind of nice leave behind, some kind of brochure. Often this needs to be co-branded, so make sure that we're respecting their brand guidelines. I also give them copy for a web page because we want our partner page on their website to say what we want it to say. And guess what? If you write it for them, usually they'll just use what you've given them instead of trying to come up with something of their own or trying to change it. And then finally, some kind of high value asset. So this is the gimme, this is the lead magnet, this is the something that gets them in the door and is a hook to start conversation. So if there's some kind of tool or digital asset or resource or checklist, some kind of thing that they can give to a prospect that helps them have the next conversation, they will absolutely love you.
There's so much goodness in that list. And so I'm just going to add on to some things. You're talking about high value assets. Webinars are amazing for this. When you each have subject matter experts, they can have a really exciting conversation and both teams are promoting this. I mean, we see some really exceptional attendance at this type of scenario, especially if it's repeatable and it's followed up by an amazing download. So I love that. And I loosely like to call some of the tools that you're talking about donuts, because you don't create this individually for every single client. I mean, these are your standard, and then you add their value proposition and their logo in predetermined places. It is supposed to be in a box, a system that is high value and easy for them to execute on. You brought up also messaging choreography. So Daisy was talking about, making it easy for them to know what to say when, and basically for a message to be able to cross a long sales cycle. Now, this is important because salespeople love to have something new to talk about. It is incredibly frustrating to be on your third or fourth or fifth follow-up and you're getting ghosted or you don't know what to say. And so when you constantly have the tools that they want to use or the little snippets or entry points that really bring their subject matter expertise to light, they will use it instead of figuring it out for themselves. So I feel like it's that new sparkly thing that you can be the company that makes their selling approach exciting, fortifies what they believe about themselves and the value that they bring to the market. And there's just so much goodness. And the one final thing I would add to this is there needs to be a repeatable email communication or some sort of communication to the sales reps, reminding them what's in the box.
Right.
Because just one big launch will not create, I've got something for month 1 and month 2, or, week 1, week 2, week 3. I can go back to this. There's tools to engage a prospect that are really going to help me be successful. I mean, you've got to continuously remind them, and videos, communicate to them in a way that they want to receive information, not just loads of files and them figuring it out and digging through it. So, I mean, this is a system that includes ongoing promotion of the value that you're bringing.
And since we've been talking mostly from the provider side and not so much from the channel partner side, if we flip that for just a second, this is the stuff you should be requesting from the companies that you're representing. This should be part of your standard.
Yeah.
It's like, we want our sales team to be successful. We want you to be successful as the person who's providing this product or service for us to resell. These are the things we need you to provide to us or build with us in order for us to do this.
Yes, absolutely. And we see so much effectiveness. I mean, channel partners get up to speed faster. More of their sales teams start to really advocate and join in and sell. So, because one of the other things that we see, sometimes you only have one advocate in that channel partner, but they've got 20 salespeople. So are you activating everybody that you could, or are you creating a Pareto's principle, an 80-20 inside of an individual channel partner? Because if you really want to activate a channel partner, you have to get their entire team, or at least the majority of them, to really make it easy for them to bring this to market for you.
One more thing I'd like to recommend, if you're working with channel partners, you need to have some kind of dashboard. I'm not talking about dashboards for individual salespeople. That's for your channel partners to set up. I'm talking about a channel partner dashboard where your channel partners can see the performance of the rest of the partners that you have in that program. Just like sales teams love that competition, channel partners are also going to be motivated by knowing, oh, I'm in the top 10% of channel partners by volume or by revenue or whatever it is. Giving people visibility like this gives you an opportunity to continuously educate your channel partners about the things that are working, because there are going to be things that your most successful channel partners do as best practices that the rest of your channel partners should be doing. And when you have visibility and you're sharing visibility, you're going to have the opportunity for channel partners who are underperforming to come to you and say, hey, I notice these other guys, they must be really raking it in because I can see what their performance is. What are they doing differently? What opportunities are they capturing? And, without breaking confidentiality, if I can say that word, if there's best practices that you can share, ways that you've seen them supporting their sales team or communicating more effectively with the market, those are things you should be distributing and using to up-level the performance of all of your channel partners. And without visibility and without accountability across your partners, you won't be able to leverage that.
And it's interesting, not to take it in a different direction, because I completely agree. But, so often you have information that can arm your channel partner to win. So for instance, on the industrial side, oftentimes a lot about lead times, or a lot about what's happening in the market, and can literally give better data, better intel to your channel partner to help them accelerate their sales, because they are providing a higher level of service. And that's something you just have naturally, but you've got to create a communication channel, or reminding them where are they to their forecast, and making sure that it's easy for them to go, wow, if we hit this benchmark, we have additional incentives behind that. And so even just sharing, the what's in it for me on the corporate side can really organizationally help them decide. Leadership can decide we need to prioritize this platform or this offering or this partner this quarter because we're so close, you guys, and that's good for all of us. And so that gets really exciting. And then this is a segue, though, into that incentive and that reward component. So yes, rebates, incentives, maybe you have them and maybe you don't. I'm not going to do a deep dive on that today, but salespeople are people. And let's think about them specifically. Typically, you've got two major types of personalities that are going on. One, incredibly relationship driven. They love people. They're extroverts. They love being in that. And then you've got another, they love to win. And so when you actually structure rewards, and these are more on the human side, you can activate the part of them that made them want to get in sales in the beginning. So it can be events. It can be taking them to Las Vegas or doing something special during an industry conference. I mean, it can be highlighting them on social media. Everyone loves an attaboy, but everybody forgets that. And these are so low cost, high value, high emotion incentives, gamifying things, back to the dashboards. I mean, there's so many really engaging ways that you can stay top of mind, and it's respectful and exciting for that sales team to be like, I actually want to be a part of that. And of course, rewards and all of this other stuff, but awards, just recognition is huge in this environment.
And it's something that you can systemize.
Yes.
And it should be part of your regular touch points. Another great idea for sales teams is if they hit a specific target, you're paying their way to high-level consulting program or coaching program that they want to be in. I mean, things that help them professionally progress, those are high value for them. And showing them that you recognize their leadership within the success of your business because of what they're doing, no matter if they go to a different employer in the future, they're still going to want to sell your stuff, right?
Yes, exactly. So one of the other things, a final one that I want to bring up, or I don't know if it's final, but one of the ones I want to bring up also, and this might be a little controversial, is whether or not and who should own lead generation. And so I know exactly, because of course we hear so often, well, the channel partner needs to be driving their own leads. They're a sales organization. That's their responsibility. And then we hear the flip side of, why don't they send leads? What are you doing to make us successful? How are you setting us up for success? Why should we prioritize you? And so there's this, who's supposed to own this? And I would argue, don't abdicate responsibility. You should both own it. So for instance, it's well, I would like to suggest that it's self-evident that the channel partner needs to be doing lead generation to fill the pipeline because they are a sales organization. Fine. But on the other side of the table, if you're not doing direct lead generation, you're missing out on opportunities for goodwill or other incentives where you can increase the volume of leads that you're distributing to your partners. The other thing, though, is this is your opportunity to communicate directly with the market and to actually get insights about what messaging is working, what are they clicking on, what part of your value proposition is really resonating. And then also it opens up the opportunity for you to have healthy sales conversations and forecast conversations because some of your leads are going there. And then you can ask and get intel about what happened in the sales cycle and how did that go. And then there's appropriate accountability. So I always I'm so frustrated because there's so much big opportunity for both parties and even a shared media spend. I mean, so many interesting contractual ways to do this well that increase unity and increase success instead of the finger pointing and, well, you're not doing enough. Well, you're not doing enough. And it's exhausting.
I'd like to touch on 2 reasons that people who are building a product or offering a service that's sold through channel partners should be doing their own marketing and their own lead generation. Number one, I work with startups very frequently, and they'll come to me and they'll have an amazing idea, something that they want to take to the market, and they're like, well, we want to use a channel partner strategy. And the number one reason they do that is because they don't want to have to sell it themselves. They've recognized, hey, I'm an amazing inventor, I'm a creator, but sales is hard. And that's true. And I get that. However, if you go to a channel partner without showing that you can actually sell the thing yourself, why should they believe that they can sell it? If you haven't shown that you understand that customer journey from awareness through decision, then you haven't proven, no matter how good you think your product or service is, that you actually have something that the market wants, will respond to, and will pay money for. So you need to have at least a core customer base that you've built yourself, because then you are able to answer those questions for your channel partners and you're able to prove that this is a viable product or service and that there is demand for it in the market. Reason number 2 that you should be heavily involved in marketing is that your channel partners need your support in demand generation. This is making sure that as they're going to market, yours is a brand that their prospects have heard of before the sales conversation. You definitely don't want to be something that the target market only hears about because it's a one-on-one conversation or they got an email from a sales rep. It needs to be a recognizable name because this primes the market to buy that product when they do end up in that sales conversation with a channel partner. And it's been proven that the more often somebody hears a brand name, the more they trust it. It's just what our brains are wired toward. Oh, that's familiar. It's safe. It's something I can trust. So you want to set up your sales channel partners for success by making sure you're priming the market with demand generation. And to Dacia's point, yes, this is going to give you a massive amount of insight that's going to continually improve your ability to support your channel partners. And also, you need to be getting that direct feedback about your product or service so you can continuously improve it.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys, your brand is your responsibility, not your channel partner's responsibility. And you want to get prioritized? Holy cow. If the market is coming to them, that demand generation saying, hey, I want to talk about this product that I heard, ding, ding, ding. Guess what? That halo effect continues on to their next sales engagements and their next prospects where they're going to start bringing your name forward because that first one was so doggone easy. So I really love this because you have to protect. I mean, this is the value of your company. This is what you stand for. This is the core of making everything easy and activating success. And so I just could not agree with you more. And it's exciting and it's fun. Why abdicate responsibility on this? But we do see that. And I would like to propose that I kind of understand why, like when we talk with these decision makers, is that manufacturing and producers of physical components have a tendency to be so operationally focused that they are focused on efficiency and quality and lead times, et cetera, and they're not thinking branding. They're not thinking marketing. They're thinking selling through their channel partners. And so there's an accidental abdication happening. And then on the technology side, they love their product. They love it. So new features, new launches, new bug fixes, new, more, build, right? And so they like the idea of marketing, but a lot of times I see just that hesitancy because they're like, well, we don't want to talk about anything until we launch the next iteration or until we have this new feature and so I see just this hesitancy to really own their existing position because they're always 2 steps ahead about what they're about to build and what they're going to be someday. And wow, they're hurting themselves primarily, but they're hurting their ability to activate and support their partners as well.
I'd like to do just one quick recap about successful B2B channel partner marketing. So first of all, understand the persona of your channel partners, both at the organizational level and at the individual sales level. Make sure you understand the position of value that you have within that organization. Why should they sell your stuff? Why should they sell more of your stuff? Why should they prioritize your brand over all the other things that they sell? So understanding how the sales team is being incentivized to sell. And then making sure that you're providing every asset they could possibly need to market and sell your product. So building a campaign in the box that you can just hand to them, it's already got their branding in it and it's ready to launch. And then understanding how to cultivate that sales team, giving them ongoing education and insight and making sure that they feel valued for the way that they're supporting your success.
You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you got what you needed to go ahead and move some future activations and marketing forward to really hit those revenue goals. If you've got specific questions, we do lives every month, or you can hit us up at our website, themarketingblender.com, or even in the comments of this podcast. So thank you, and we will see you next week. Onward and upward.